So here we go. Mayonnaise. It's a thick, creamy sauce. Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I think I'm Brian. I don't know what's going on anymore.
I'm no longer on the black box this time.
On the green headphones. Mr. Dolan, as usual. This is going to be interesting. So this is our first one that we're doing in separate locations, quarantined, right?
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
We'll see how this goes. Cinco de Mayo is the beers of choice today. Cinco de Mayo, of course, coming up next week. And the idea was each one of us would choose a Cinco de Mayo, a Mexican-themed beer. Maybe it's a Mexican lager or something like that. And then we would bring it and talk about it and kind of see where it goes.
Cool.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I feel like you should go first.
Ooh.
You seem excited.
I'm so excited. Brian we've gone down this road here for however many episodes now. Mm-hmm. And in the very, very beginning, I was not a Stout fan whatsoever. I disliked them very much. I was going to go with the safe route with an Avery beer that I love. And I thought, no, I saw this Belching Beaver.
Oh, yeah.
Chocolate peanut butter stout.
You know, I've never had that, I don't think. But they also make a Mexican lager that I bought on accident once because I thought it was that stout. So this will be interesting.
You said it's a Mexican chocolate peanut butter stout?
Yes. It's called Viva la Beaver.
It's going to have a little bit of pepper in there.
Look at.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh. It's so dark.
That looks good. Hopefully that's a 4-pack.
It is a 4-pack, yes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I'll make sure you get one somehow. I may drop it on your porch one of these afternoons. So, all right, I'll go first here. So, Viva la Beaver, Mexican chocolate peanut. So, what's Mexican chocolate then? What is that?
It's usually just when they make it in a beer, at least, and I think probably in candy form as well. But it's just had some spice. There'll be some like cayenne pepper or whatever kind of ancho, chili peppers, whatever. You feel it in your throat.
Yeah, a little bit right back here.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's the Mexican chocolate at least in a stout.
Lots of peanut butter. So their peanut butter milk stout was one of my favorites over the winter. Like I don't buy a lot of stouts. I bought probably 3 6-packs of that and drank all of them.
Nice.
No, so this was a very easy choice as I was kind of perusing the beer aisle there at our local Hy-Vee. This was an easy one.
Did we all get beer at Hy-Vee?
Maybe. Dolan, where did you score yours from?
Family Fair, actually. Family Fair's close to my house. And not a lot of people go there. And during this pandemic, that's what I prefer.
That's what you're looking for.
Right.
Less people.
I did notice, are any of you wearing the mask when you go to the store? Like, do you wear the mask?
Yep. We made our own. We found a pattern online and sewed it together, and
that's a good idea. I've just been using one of Oscar's old diapers that I colored brown, and then people are just really staying away from me.
Hey,
actually, I haven't been to the store. I went one time, but yeah, I have one.
That's pretty good. I've been to the store 3 times during all of this. So
yeah, I probably go with 3 times here on my end too. Yeah.
I mean, I've left my house twice in 6 weeks now.
Wow.
Are you wearing a bathrobe right now?
I mean, don't judge. It's a little chilly down here.
I didn't do my normal. I did some normal research on this. Belching Beaver is located in San Diego. They have 5 different locations And since it's kind of weird right now, more than kind of weird,
Mm-hmm.
they're all just open for kind of like we've experienced here in Omaha, for just pickups only. And so that's, each one of them has modified there. But their food selection, it looks like they have some pretty amazing food choices there too. I mean, San Diego, so I would think you would get some pretty great food anyway. But their food choices look unbelievable. And I pulled this up. Let me get over to it. I pulled this up today just because I was curious about how they started, and there wasn't a whole lot of information about how they started, but I did read this on their website. It says Belching Beaver Brewery came from a desire to make great beer and have a damn good time doing it. Get it?
Damn pun. I like that.
Damn. I love puns. That's
a good one. Solid.
Yeah. So there you go. So Belching Beaver, Mexican chocolate, peanut butter stout.
So are you getting a lot of the chocolate?
Lots
just
of
peanut butter.
So it's like a Reese's peanut butter cup, kind of.
Okay.
But more peanut butter. There's good chocolate flavor too, and the chocolate gets you at the end, and then it gets you the little chili flavor at the at the end of it there.
I like those because you don't really taste it spicy. It's just like afterwards, it's a little spicy. Like, oh, there was something in there.
It just reminds you, yeah.
Yeah, Stone has one that they have something like that in it. It's pretty good.
I'm not sad by this choice. Now, my Avery choice would have been a good one. I have some of it in my fridge right now. El Gozo was the other choice, but that's just a sour lager. I guess the only thing Mexican about it was the what's the skull thing? What's that skull?
The sugar skull?
Yeah, on the can.
Dia de los Muertos, the stuff?
Yeah.
I was surprised to see you pull out a stout. That's for sure.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Dolan, what do you got over there?
I'm gonna let you go first.
All right.
I think yours is gonna be a little bit more interesting.
Well, I don't know about that, but I did research based on mine only.
Okay.
I only knew what mine was, so I have the normal shows research done, and I'll hold it up to the camera for you.
Oh, Melvin.
Called Heyzeus. 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 It's their Mexican style lager. It was the only one I could find in my local Hy-Vee, which kind of surprised me because usually there's a few, but not this time around. This was So that's what I got. So I'm gonna crack it open here.
I hope Dolan went with craft too, because I think that. I hope he didn't go with like Soul or.
No, I hope he has Corona. I bet he has Corona.
Nope.
Too soon, but I bet you that's what he's doing. I know his.
We'll see.
So Melvin is out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or if you're local, just Jackson, Wyoming, as they say, right, Dolan? I think.
Yep.
It is kind of a popular spot. It's just recently gotten to Nebraska here. It was a beer that people would go and get if you could. And if you see it, you usually buy some of theirs. They have really good IPA. That's usually what they're known for. This one I have not had. I did do a little research on them on the internet, and I guess they won Small Brew Pub and Brewer of the Year recently, Great American Beer Festival stuff. So that's pretty cool. This beer is 5.0 on the ABV and is very light and crisp in color. Smells like I would expect it to. It smells like a Bud Light with some corn in it. So we're going to take a little taste and see what's what.
It's a light lager. It's a Mexican lager. Is that what it is?
Yep. That's what we got going on here. Let's see if there's anything. That is weird. Yeah. I'll just read it to you because it doesn't make sense to me. Resist, as in how can you resist the crisp and refreshing Mexican-style lager, specifically made for mortals? It's heaven on earth, a place where love comes first. It's like thunder and lightning. The way it drinks is frightening. That's a song rip. Say adios to beer geeks and opa to cerveza Greeks. Listen to the sound of Heyzeus' Mariachi Zeppelin cover band, Martillo de los Dioses. They are breaking down walls and craft beer. Don't hate, bebamos. Get all that?
Don't hate. Let's drink.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they mixed up because it's got Zeus on the can. So they're talking about beer Greeks and beer geeks and all that sort of stuff. So that's one of the things I did a little research on. We did a little atlas a few weeks ago. So this time I've got a little Zeus for us.
Ooh.
So should I bust into that now and then we can get Dolan's beer, or do you want to do your beer first, Dolan?
No. Let's go ahead and let's do the research first, and then
all right,
we'll bust out what I have.
We'll just hop around. Okay, so everybody knows about Zeus.
Why do you want us to wait till the end so badly? Why?
Oh boy, it must be a show killer.
No, I've got a process, and I did a little bit of research myself, so I want to.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right,
here we go. He's the Olympian god of the sky and thunder, Zeus, right? Son of Kronos in Rhea. He was most famous, I guess, this is what they said online, for his infidelity. So he was a player. And he was also married to his sister/wife, Hera. Now, that used to be a thing that people did back in the day, especially if you were a Greek god. You could definitely, and we're usually married to a spouse, would be your sister, brother, cousin, something like that. So they had all sorts of things going on in ancient Greece.
And they would they would procreate with their.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked that. Here are his legitimate children. These are the ones that I could find online that, had a mom and a dad, and he was married, because he was married like 7 times.
Okay.
Hephaestus, Hebe, and Ares. Those are the legit kids. Those are boring names. Here's the illegitimate children. This is the part I like, right? Athena, I've heard of her. Apollo, Artemis, Hermes, Dionysus, and Hercules.
Wow.
So a lot better on the illegitimate side.
I don't know. Was Ares on the legitimate list? Was that Ares?
Yeah, but that's 1 out of 3.
I take Ares over Hercules, though, I think.
Nah, not me.
Okay.
Not me.
All right.
Zeus is ancient Greek. They say kind of maybe for bright because of the sky. So it's like, that's the meaning of the name. Let's see. He's usually holding a scepter in one hand and a lightning bolt in the other. There is, what's his name? The one-eyed guy. You know who I'm talking about?
Oedipus?
Maybe. I don't know. He's some famous Cyclops. Makes his lightning bolts.
Yeah.
And that's how Zeus gets them. They're like weapons he uses, but gets them from some one-eyed dude. He has a giant eagle as a pet named Atos Dios. Didn't know that.
Why wouldn't you have a giant eagle?
I mean, they're the gods of the animal world in the sky, and that's where he's at. So he's also known as the ruler of the heavens and the governor of the weather. He's basically in charge of what's going on there. He's the god of wisdom and awareness. And this is a good story. I think this is I can maybe relate to it a little bit. Just being trapped at home with my child lately. Kronos' dad here, Zeus's dad, had heard a rumor, going around town, hey, one of your kids is going to try to take over for you. They're going to try to, take your power, and they want to rule stuff. That's what we're hearing. So Kronos does what anyone does, and he swallows his children whole, eats them all, except Kronos' wife, Rhea. She says, well, I better save one kid. So she takes off Zeus's little diaper and puts it on a rock. And Kronos apparently is blind, or I don't know, just hungry, and eats the rock and thinks he ate Zeus. Well, guess what? Zeus rises up and takes over. So good for him. But then it's a little bit weird is that, history repeats itself. Guess what? When Zeus is the king, he hears the same thing. So he tries to do the same thing. And he does. He eats them all up. But then somebody tricks him and basically makes him puke. They give him something, and he throws up all his kids. The kids are, from what I understand, fully grown and fully armored, and there's a big battle. So that's going on with Zeus. I thought that was interesting.
Some kind of weird, Greek ipecac that they gave him. He yacked them all back up.
Oh, there's. There's Hercules, Dionysus, as you do. So basically, mom and dad, Kronos and Rhea, are fighting. They can't get along now because of the murder of the children. So Zeus has to be raised by some nymphs, which sounds cool. And then his first wife was named Metis, Metis. She was known for wisdom, and that's probably where he should have stopped. But he did not, and was a philanderer about town. He was a rolling stone, if you will, and just liked to party, sounds like. So I don't know. He'd been a good dude to be a friend with, but not, you didn't want to be married to this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. He has brothers. Kronos was then tricked also, and he threw up some other folks too. This happens, I guess, a couple times. They'd been in there a long time, but one of them was Poseidon, and the other one was Hades. And then when they were thrown up, they just said, okay, let's draw some straws here and see who gets to run what. So Zeus gets the heavens, Hades gets the underworld, and Poseidon gets the ocean. So that's how that's divvied out, and that's why. Let's see. He ate his first wife, as you do. There wasn't a divorce back then. What else? That's right. The kid, when I was one of his daughters that he ate, instead of throwing it up, they just came out of his forehead. They just sprung out of a hole in his brain, and that one was Athena, the goddess of wisdom. So she came out of his brain, and she was smart, and his mom was smart, and they were all smart, and that's how it worked, I guess.
It didn't kill him to have that?
I guess not. Probably just hurt a little. He was married 7 times. I wrote this in my notes, #MeToo, because a lot of the ways he would have these illegitimate children were pretty sketch. 3 different times he turned himself into an animal and then did the nasty. And
with the girl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One time was a cuckoo, a bird. Another time was a beautiful swan. And I think that one might have been with his mom. The research was a little unclear. Yeah, he did that. And at one time, this one was really bad. And this is where I was like, I probably should just stop. And this is an adults, exclusive podcast. One time he seduced a woman by disguising himself as a golden shower.
Oh.
Now, I think that means something different now than it did back then. I hope. But after, congressing with a swan, maybe it's the same thing. I'm not sure. So that's what I think of when I'm drinking this beer, because there's a beautiful golden color in here. And that's what I'm gonna leave my Zeus research for you.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Well, I'm gonna go and throw up my children.
Yeah. I feel like I need a shower, and not a regular one.
Not the golden variety.
No. Yuck.
I haven't been locked up that long.
So not only did he woo-hoo with his sister, but he did with his mom.
Yeah, and as animals. Wasn't even a dude. One time it was a snake. I told you he was a tricky dude.
Do snakes have?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Really? I don't know.
I have a story for that, but that's off air. Okay, that's an off air story. I don't want that in another greatest hits episode.
You just brought up golden showers, so I'm not exactly sure.
No, this is way worse.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I got. That's my beer, Heyzeus Mexican style lager out of Wyoming.
Dolan, just bookmark this now. This is Best of Brian, episode 2, next year, right? When we do Best of Brian next year.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Hey, that was just the research. That's not me. I'm not making this up. I wish I was.
All right. Well, wow. I guess I'll break open my beer.
Here we go.
Brian, you must know me pretty well. You must know me pretty well.
I do.
Because I did go with Corona. Hey, I went with Corona. I realized after I bought the beer that last year I went back and checked the Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. We didn't do it, did we?
No, we did.
Oh, okay.
So Corona was a part of that. And actually you went into the history of Corona how that became the Mexican beer, and
right,
so on and so forth. So that killed my idea of going into the history of it, and
sorry about that.
And whatever, trying to be, whatever. So I had to get a little creative. And so I started thinking about my personal experiences with Corona, maybe something I could tell. It was the first beer I ever beer bonged in college.
Oh.
Which for Dolan was like 2 years ago.
I was going to say, I can still remember that, huh?
Right.
Yeah. It was kind of the beer that my friends would drink. I don't know why it was the go-to. But I actually got my wisdom teeth out. And I still drink Corona with open sores in my mouth, even though they tell you not to.
Right, where the coronavirus came from.
There you go.
Yeah, and so that's also a good tie-in, the Corona time.
Oh, boy.
Thing. So then I got to thinking, no, I can't tell all my personal experiences.
Right, yeah, you didn't just do that. Right.
No, I can't do all of that. So I looked up, okay, what's Corona made of? Because it's got to be like the basic of the basic ingredients, right? So it's barley malt, hops, yeast, and corn. So then I got to thinking, corn. Mexico, corn, Cinco de Mayo, elote.
Elotes. Oh,
elotes.
Right. Nice.
Right? Okay, so elote, for those of you who don't know, is a Mexican street corn that they usually put toppings on: mayonnaise, lime, chili powder, thyme.
Well, wait a minute. Mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise. You could use butter if you don't like mayonnaise. I know you have a weird thing with the eggs and.
Okay. Mayonnaise. It's not as weird as Brian's distaste for mustard.
Literal distaste, but also mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise is weird though. Please continue, but that's weird. Mayonnaise on corn.
No. I mean, it's good. Trust me. It's good. And if you don't like mayonnaise, just use butter and it's all the same, right? They do both. You get a choice. So corn, Mexico. Most Cinco de Mayo celebrations have a elote march, or like a elote street festival. Correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the Cinco de Mayos, they're like week long, aren't they? They're like 3 or 4 days.
I think some of them go, kind of like St. Patrick's Day, where it's spread out over a weekend or something like that. Yeah.
Right. And usually it's always, the second or third day that they do the elote street corn festival. They walk around with their elotes and coronas and so on and so forth. So I did some research and kind of see where corn was from and how Mexico decided that was a thing. Because if you think like they use it for the tortillas, it's basically a vehicle to put the food that you like in your mouth, right?
Nice. An edible device. I like it.
Right. So it started actually in 6600 BCE, where it was a
long time ago.
A long time ago. Domesticated in Honduras, and then it went from Peru to Mexico, and basically just took over Mexico. It was like, this is now our food for everything. Like they used it for everything. It's kind of like how, American Indians, the buffalo is their everything. Well, corn is their everything, right? Used it for everything. So the term maize came from actually when Columbus sailed over, landed in the Caribbean, found corn, shared corn with the Europeans. And, brief history shows that because of that, it came to America.
Shared, stolen, whatever you want to, with old Chris Columbus, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stolen, probably. Yeah. And elote came from basically that. Like, how do I make this corn better? So they started doing everything with the ingredients that they had to try to make it better. Same with the birth of tortillas and stuff. So the traditional elote is, like I said, they usually boil the corn or they roast it. Then they put the lime juice. It's very important to put the lime juice first. Otherwise, your other ingredients will get washed off when you put the lime on the first time or on last. And then it's either butter or mayonnaise traditionally. There you go. There's a good picture of it.
Yeah, it looks good.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Butter or mayonnaise. And then you want to do chili powder, thyme, and basil. So or bay leaves, I should say, not basil. Bay leaves and thyme. And then some queso fresca, some ranchero cheese, like the crumble cheese.
Where do you get that, Dolan? Where do you get that, by the way? I was for the guacamole thing that we're doing for Cinco de Mayo for Apple Seeds. I could not. That was actually included on. I cannot find that.
Oh, it's just called ranchero cheese. It's in the cheese section at like any grocery store. You can get it at Hy-Vee, you can get it at Family Fare, you can get it at Walmart. Yeah, I actually grew up eating it a lot on flautas and stuff like that. So I actually am going to show the cheat way to do it. The cheat way to do it.
Okay.
And that includes, instead of your ear of corn, can of corn.
Ah.
Right? So I'm gonna make some elote just to show you what it is. So you get your can of corn, and this is how I ate it as a kid. My mom would do it this way just because it was easier than throwing corn on the grill or boiling corn forever, right? So you got your can of corn, got your lime. So you want to put the lime. Same thing. If you put the lime on last, it washes the mayonnaise off to the bottom.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Then you know what not to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gets like clunky and,
So wait, you're making this in the can?
In the can. In the can.
Okay.
Is the corn warm?
The corn is not warm. You can warm it up and put it back in the can.
Yeah.
But I'm just showing you how.
All right.
How to do it.
I trust you, man. I don't know if I'd do it, but right? I trust you.
So then you get your thing of mayonnaise.
Oh, God, that's a big dollop.
Just a tablespoon.
Oh man,
that's a big table.
I'm loving your reaction, Rich.
Very appetizing.
Can you tell I'm getting nervous here? I'm getting nervous for you.
You are getting nervous. And then you got your chili powder. You can cheat and you can do hot sauce if you're really into that. You do about a tablespoon or two of that. Mix that in. Then you get your thyme.
Not to be confused with Morris Day.
That's right.
Right.
Music joke.
See how I worked that in there? Music. I was gonna go can of corn baseball term, but you kind of gotta like baseball to understand what the can of corn reference is.
Gotta pick your battles.
Exactly.
And then here's a little secret that my mom did that I have not seen on traditional elote, but it's just garlic powder. Yeah.
Powder, not salt.
Powder, not salt. You don't want it too salty, right?
You'd want a little salt in there, wouldn't you?
You can. There's already a ton of salt in the can.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
What, 330 or 300 milligrams?
You drain that off, right?
Yeah, you drain it off first.
Okay.
So yeah, get that all mixed. I'm gonna put a little bit more chili powder.
Ooh,
a spicy boy.
Spicy boy.
We know Dolan likes the heat. We do know.
I know. You could go cayenne, couldn't you? That's what I've seen sometimes.
You could do cayenne pepper. You can do, like I said, hot sauce. I don't really do the hot sauce because it gets like wet.
Yeah. Then it's on your hand.
Right. And then crumbled cheese, ranchero cheese, You just do about a tablespoon and a half of that, tablespoon, whatever. Mix that all in. Getting it all mixed up here.
I gotta tell you, I'm not. This is almost like we're gonna need the recipe. This is the first time we've ever crossed over and like had a recipe too.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So
Oh,
now it's all done, and
does it taste like what you would have gotten like from the street corn people?
100%.
Wow.
100%. It's just not scalding hot. You know.
That's probably where I would need it to be warm.
You could warm it up.
Yeah.
100%. You could warm it up. This is basically been in my cabinet, so room temperature. You know.
So something similar that I picked up from a few years ago. Went with my wife to a barbecue. Couple of the people that she works with. And she is a doctor, and most of the folks that she worked with back then, especially, were from India. And we had a barbecue at their house, and we cooked corn on the grill. And very similar, almost half the ingredients what you showed there, Dolan, but it was lime juice first, and then cayenne, and then a little bit of salt, and that's how they did their corn, and it was amazing. And that's how I do mine now. So I'm not a butter guy on corn anymore. I'm just, for the most part, lime juice, cayenne, and a little salt, and man, is that good. But it gets hot. I like to add a lot of cayenne. So by the time you're done, you're like dripping, sweating, and it's delicious.
It's perfect because once you're done with the lime, in the Corona.
Oh, right in the beer. Waste not, want not. Very nice.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's my little research. I thought it would be fun to just talk about, the corn in Mexico, why it's such a huge deal, and how it came to America, or how it was stolen and came to America.
It depends. It depends on what story you want to read, right?
Yeah. Speaking of corn, which is something I like to say quite often, I have a little research about corn and beer in Mexico, and then I want to just hit a few craft breweries that make a Mexican lager. We can talk about maybe a couple of those. Cool. Basically, as we have talked about before on the show, a lot of mid-Eastern European folks moved to Mexico, brought their brewing techniques with them. They were making Vienna lagers there because that's what was popular back home. In 1880s in Mexico, there was a brewer, and his name was Santiago Graf, which is definitely a European last name and a Mexican first name, right? So Santiago Graf was bringing over hops and malt from Europe to make beer there where he was at. But this time he decided he was going to add a little corn because he had that handy, because it's in, as Dolan just told us, it was everywhere and everything to most of the folks. So he adds it to the brew, and voila, it's great. Adds a little sweetness, and that's basically what a Mexican lager is going to be versus a normal traditional lager, a European style. It adds that corn. It has a little sweetness. The ABV is usually around the same, around 4.7 to like maybe 5.5 is kind of the general range, but pretty low ABV. They're usually malt forward, a little bitterness, not much. And then you will get some sweetness from this. So either on the nose, like when you sniff it, when you first drink it, or whatever. But these became kind of a popular style of beer with craft breweries for a while. It was kind of like a trend. I'd say maybe 5 years ago, there was a big run on these, but they've been around for a while. The first one that I could find that they had been making a long time was from Ska out of Durango. They have one just called Mexican Lager. It's spelled Logger. There's another pun, and it has a chainsaw on the can. So
Lager. That
was the first one I could find. Oscar Blues makes one called a burrito. Instead of burrito, it's a burrito. Anchor Brewing out of San Francisco, we talked about them before. They have one that's just called Los Gigantes, a Mexican lager. So it's a tie-in to the baseball team, which I always love. AleSmith has one that's really cool. I have a can of this in my collection because it is called Sublime Mexican Lager. And it came out last year, I think. It was for the 25th anniversary of 40 Ounce to Freedom, the Sublime album. So they did like a tribute to them, and the Sublime Sun is the logo on the beer. So I have that in my can and bottle collection of music-related beer stuff. And then the other one I thought was kind of fun, Boulevard, a couple years ago. Every year for Boulevard, at least the last few, they've been like teaming up with a Kansas City Royal baseball player and making them a beer. So last year was for Whit Merrifield, and it was like a wheat beer. It was a wit beer, technically. The year before that, it was Salvi, and it was called Vamos, and it was a Mexican lager that they made, and then they sold at the stadium. So that was one that I've definitely had.
Was there? So in my collection of, I have like beer, like baseball related beer. Did they can that at all, or was it just sold at?
It was in bottles. They had 6 packs of bottles.
Okay.
So that's what I have for just a little bit of corn stuff and what's different about it. Just a refresher, because we really went into this on last year's episode, but just wanted to let people know, especially if you're picking up crowlers at like your local brewery or something like that, your little mom and pop shop, you might see some of these floating around right now. This is the big time for them to pop out, usually spring and summertime, and then they kind of go away. So almost a seasonal. Doesn't take seasonal ingredients, but it's more of a seasonal taste.
I always had I don't want to say negative connotation before I started like really down this beer road, but more that maybe a Mexican lager would have some spice to it or whatever. Like there was something there, and it really isn't. Like it's a very light, refreshing lager.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, one of the things you think about Mexico, at least for me, is hot sun. So they're definitely refreshing beers, and they're light ABV wise. They do make something, and I thought about doing one of these, but I would not like it. I have never had one before, and I know I wouldn't like it, but they make basically a beer called a Shilada. And we talked about those before, but it's got like clam juice in it, tomato juice in it. It's like a Bloody Mary beer, but some of them have like a lot of citrus fruits in them. And I think someday we should definitely do one just to try it and see if we all like it or not.
All right.
Not one with clam juice. No clam.
At the barbecues that we would have at my house growing up, that's all we had was Corona and Shiladas all over my house. Everybody would drink them. My stepdad, all of his friends and brothers and cousins, and it's no. I snuck a Shilada one time. Gross.
And
gross.
That was it, huh? Yeah.
That was it. I don't even think I've ever retried it as an adult. So.
Scarred you. Yeah. Just what I've read on the can, I'm like, no thanks.
Clam juice. There's clam juice.
Yeah.
Well,
clam juice.
You could buy it. It's called Clamato. There's a ton of different uses that you can.
Bud Light makes that with Clamato. Like that's their GM.
That's how they would make it at my house too, is the Clamato and the beer. Gross. But Clamato is actually really good for like what is it called? The ceviche. Shrimp ceviche.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you put that in there and it gives it kind of the base, and super good.
So one of the other things I was going to do, that Rich likes to do sometimes, is when he does research, he always likes to pull a quote. So I have this quote from the guy from Ska, because they were like the first one canning this stuff. And he said, sometimes even though we trash the light lagers of the world, we just crave that. So you don't want to be caught by your friends walking out with a Coors Light 6-pack. So maybe a Mexican lager's craft version, of course, is the way to go.
I can tell you that is 100% true. Like, so it's been slightly warmer here. So we've taken advantage of the warm outside weather. And I may have enjoyed a Busch Light and or a Bud Light Lime because you just kind of want that something lighter and refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, the weather affects what your beer taste is going to be, for sure. That's why most people drink stouts in the wintertime only, and those people are rookies.
So I'm not a rookie anymore? Is that
no, you're graduating up to kindergarten, my man. Good job. So I have one more piece of research, and I was shocked that this already came up today. But I'm going to expound on it quite a bit. And I thought, what would my grandpa think of Cinco de Mayo? Farmer, German immigrant dude. How would he even say it? Well, he would say Cinco de Mayo. And I thought, well, I hate mayonnaise. Let's do it. Let's learn about mayo. So that's what we're going to do, Rich.
Oh, this is horrible.
Oh, there's Kraft right there. Real mayo. Guess what?
Real
From my research,
mayo.
I can tell you that's the number 2 selling mayonnaise in the United States and maybe the whole world.
Wow.
Right there.
What's the number 1?
Hellmann's.
Hellmann's, number 1.
Okay. All right.
So here we go. Mayonnaise. It's a thick, creamy sauce or dressing made of oil, egg yolks, lemon juice, sometimes lime juice, but mostly lemon juice, and vinegar. And I think that's probably where I get off the rails there, and just the white color. I'm not a fan of white sauces, foods in general.
The uncooked egg doesn't get you off rails. I mean,
It's the yolk. You don't necessarily need to cook the yolk, right?
I mean, maybe not. Maybe you don't need to. But here's the thing. If it's a straight up mayonnaise, it'll have the eggs, like Dolan mentions. If it's a salad dressing, it will not have eggs added to it. So that's the difference. If you're making it at home, which some people do, it'll last about 5 days, they say. And if you buy it in the store, 6 months is kind of the shelf time on your mayonnaise. I despise mayonnaise. There's a burger. Oh, what's that place called? It's over here by my house. Hardee's. They have a Frisco burger. And every once in a while I like that. And it's got mayonnaise on it. And one time they didn't take the mayonnaise off. And I tried to wipe it off and I couldn't. And that was it. And that was just like $6 in the trash. So bummer. Okay.
So what's worse, mayonnaise or mustard?
Boy,
Wow.
That's tough, man.
Wow. Okay.
Mayonnaise is gross, and it's a visual thing. Mustard, I can look at it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to taste it or touch it. I would probably rather eat mustard than mayonnaise.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. Ugh, it's nasty.
Wow.
And it's an emulsion. You know what that is? Let's do a little science talk. It's a mixture of 2 liquids that normally wouldn't be together. So like oil and water. So that's what this process is. Like Dolan said, the eggs are uncooked. You're using egg yolks. So that's kind of the issue with some people. And sometimes people maybe have gotten a little sick from that. Maybe it's been out at the picnic for too long and was hot out that day and took a big old spoonful of mayonnaise and that didn't end well. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, here we go. The history of it. Where did it come from? How old is mayonnaise? I mean, not old, but like how long has it been around? From what I could find, 1756 it was invented, and it was basically a celebration food. So there's this battle, and it takes place in Spain, in the city of Mahon, Mahon. And there was French battling Spanish folks. It was on an island, and the French guys won. And they were from D-U-C-D-E, Duc de Richelieu. That's the place they're from. They win. They take the town or whatever they're trying to do, and they get back to the castle as you are hungry, after a day of battling. And the chef's like, ooh, my chance to shine. Makes a big meal, wants to have a nice sauce, a dipping sauce. Uh-oh, no cream in the castle. What are we going to do? Well, he uses the old vegetable oil instead, and voila, mayonnaise is born. Now, everybody loves it. They can't get enough of it. They've never seen anything like this before. And that's where it starts. And it gets its name because of the town, Mahon. So that's a French celebration creation. If they wouldn't have won the battle, unfortunately, we wouldn't have mayonnaise. And I would have been okay with that.
Well, what do they say is the best cuisine in the world?
I don't know. Did you just eat it out of a can?
French cuisine.
Oh, that's right.
French cuisine.
That's true. It is the base of a lot of sauces and French things. It's kind of like Cajun food has the bases of like bell peppers, tomatoes, and onions, the trinity, so to speak. That's one of the French things for all their bases and sauces and stuff is mayonnaise. So that's where that comes from. It's also the base for tartar sauce, which I think is disgusting. Thousand Island dressing, gross. Don't touch me. I don't want to see that. Big Macs, that's a no-go for me. And then aioli. So Dolan just made an aioli, kind of, because he added garlic to his mayonnaise, and that is an aioli. So that's what you might see. I don't know, Rich. Are you a fancy restaurant goer? I see you being that way.
I enjoy a fancy meal from time to time.
Yeah. You might see an aioli on your plate.
I always wondered what that was. I enjoyed them. I didn't mind them necessarily.
There you go.
Now that I know they're mayonnaise based, I will ask for no aioli.
That's right. Send it back.
What?
Nice.
So you don't like mayonnaise enough to not like it in something mixed.
Here's the thing. Like, I disagree with Brian on the tartar sauce thing. I believe tartar sauce has its place.
In the trash.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I will eat mayonnaise sometimes. It just the whole thought of the raw eggs just weirds me out.
I mean, I get it. I mean, salmonella is an issue. So I did a little bit of research on the two brands of mayonnaise that I think about, I guess, or I've heard of. We talked about number one already was Hellmann's. It has a little blue ribbon on it, and that's because it was the best, right? So it was created in 1903. This guy named Richard Hellmann opens up a deli in New York City, and his wife is there helping him, of course, and she comes up with this, her recipe of mayonnaise, and it's so good, everybody wants to buy it from the deli, like, to go. Well, they don't have anything to, like, package it with or market it or anything like that. People just want it. So apparently what they used to do is if you went to the store and you asked for butter, they'd put it on this, like, a wooden, almost like what you'd see like a corn cob holder, like you put it in to get butter on your corn, if that makes sense. Like a boat, basically. They had those made out of wood, and that's how you would get your butter, like from the dairy or whatever. So that's how they sold it at first, was on a slab of that. And then that didn't work enough, so they started jarring it, canning it, and that sort of thing. For a while, they made two different kinds, but the one that was the best is the one now that's since been, I guess, the 30s has been the only recipe. So for 20 years, there was two different kinds. And now, ever since then, so over 100 years now, this has been going on. Then there was one that I've heard of, Southern people talk about, and it's called Duke's. I've seen a commercial for it. It's the number 3 seller in the United States. It also is a big seller in places like New Zealand, Australia. And then this one was interesting, and maybe this ties into the corn stuff, Dolan. The third biggest market for mayonnaise is like in, I want to say it was like Peru or something like that.
Yeah, that would make sense. That's where they say Honduras and Peru is where.
Yeah. Oh, it's Chile. That's where it was. Chile. So Chile has the third biggest market for mayonnaise in the entire world, which I thought was interesting. But it's a big country too. The person that made Duke's, her name was Eugenia Duke, and she created her recipe in 1917. So a few years after the New York City Hellmann's recipe. But hers has extra egg yolks, Rich, so you'd probably really like that one. Gives it its tangy flavor. And that one is, still around, still big. But if you're from the South, that's probably your mayonnaise. That's the one you would see and get restaurants and all that sort of thing. Northerners stuck with Hellmann's. That's what I know about mayo.
The extra tang is food poisoning.
Yeah. It's the diarrhea coming.
Yeah. Ugh.
So I'm wondering then if that's how mayonnaise was put on elote when they all came over to South America and they saw the indigenous tribes of southern Mexico and Peru and Honduras making elote, they decided to put mayo on it.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, there's the battle in Spain, and it's named after the Spanish town, right? So that's 1750s.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's more people coming from Spain to Mexico, as we know,
right,
they bring that flavor with them, and it's still around to this day and a huge thing. Kind of cool. It's weird to think about, like the history of foods and like where things originated from and how long they've been around. just how like deeply ingrained in culture food is. You know, it's way more than just some calories that you're going to burn for the day. There's a whole lot of backstory to it, and I think that's kind of cool.
And I think that's why I had a hard time finding the history of elote per se.
Yeah.
But the history of how corn got to America is pretty brief.
Yeah, they weren't probably writing it down for history back then either. Sometimes.
No, but that's interesting. Cool.
Rich, how did the beer change over time on your stout there?
So it got a little less peanut butter forward as it warmed up. A little less peanut butter forward and more chocolate, maybe.
Oh, nice.
So kind of it switched places, which is super interesting.
Nice. So what's the Untapped on that one?
Untapped on. I was going to go through all three of them. So
okay.
I looked up Untapped on this one, which you've had. One friend has checked this in.
Okay.
13,000 check-ins. What do you think on this one? On Viva la Beaver.
I know that their normal peanut butter stout is highly ranked. And that's, for a lot of people, it's the number one peanut butter beer. I will say this one is going to be a little less than that, but it's going to be like 3.84.
I don't know. This is going off of, I'm gonna rate it off the can because I'm not trying it. So
yeah, true.
I like the puns. I like the picture there with the beaver.
It's like a mariachi beaver. Is that what I see?
Mariachi beaver. Yeah. I'm gonna do a 3.4.
It is unfair because you didn't get to drink it. I would have gone real close to the actual rating, 4.14.
Ooh.
I will do like a 4.25. I think that's pretty good.
Nice. I like on that can, I just noticed it when you had it up there real close, that he actually has burp bubbles coming from his mouth.
Oh, yeah. The
Belching Beaver.
The beaver actually belches on the can itself. Yeah. How about the Heyzeus Melvin Brewing Lager?
Well, first of all, he's ripped. This Zeus is ripped on here, and he is also wearing a sombrero, and he's holding his lightning bolt, and he's got kind of almost like a bullfighter's pants on.
Yeah.
And then there's an elephant in the background. There's the tail, and then over there's holding a cup because that's their logo.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Melvin makes good beer, but this is something you could just drink all day long. Like a 6-pack of this would go down pretty easy. I think I would say it's probably, for me, I will probably rank it like a 3.75. I think overall it's probably a 3.82.
Dolan, what do you think for just a craft Mexican lager? Where do you think that lands?
I think it'll be pretty close to that. I would say a 3.8, and I'm going based off of what Brian read to us earlier. I especially like the end of that don't hate Bebamos.
Yeah.
I want a shirt that says that now.
I think they have them in the store there. They had a pretty good selection of stuff.
That's awesome.
So 10,000 check-ins, Brian. You have ranked this one time before. This was November 8th, 2017. You gave it a 3.5, which is right on where it's at, 3.52.
Yeah, that's about right where it's at. I've had a few beers since November 2017.
Maybe a handful.
You know?
Yeah.
But things also change. Tastes evolve.
So finally, Dolan's Corona. I'm surprised by this. You have rated it one time.
Uh-oh.
I have?
No, Brian has.
Oh
boy.
To be fair, you rated it in 2012.
Holy, that was back when I was just rating anything I could drink.
Yeah. And you gave it a 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So
I'd stand by that.
This might be the largest sample size that we've ever had before.
Ever?
480,000.
Oh, dang.
Wow. Well, if I were rating it, I'd probably rate it like a 2.75.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Dolan. 2.75 historical, but currently it's going to be like a 0.25 because of the coronavirus.
You would be surprised. Overall rating 3.08. Most recently, this is really interesting. Most recently, 3.16.
Wow.
So
ironic drinking.
Yeah, I don't know if this is. You don't want to just by age group, like summarize by age group or whatever. But like, did a whole younger age group get introduced to Corona because of all of this, and now they're ranking it because of that? I don't know.
Maybe.
I think I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, for me, Corona was like everywhere, growing up with the barbecues and stuff. And then for some reason, even my friends at the college parties and, get-togethers, like there was always the one guy or the two or three guys that showed up with a case of Corona. I think a lot of those guys just unknowingly were like, I don't like Bud Light, I don't want Busch, and I don't like, Budweiser. So I'm just going to bring Corona. I'm not sure. And then, of course, there was the whole, like, the meme, the Modelo time versus the Corona time stuff going on. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, the singer in my band is like a Corona fanatic. Like, I'm pretty sure his veins are filled with Corona. That is his go-to beer. His claim is they come in the small bottles, and so he drinks less. I've seen him go through
that math checks out. I think that math checks out.
I don't know. I'm not so sure.
I was going through my closet the other day because I was looking for a hat to wear. I have a few. And I was looking in this one container, a tote I had stored, and opened it up. And right on the top was a Corona hat. So I have a Corona hat that I think I purchased in the Excalibur gift shop in Las Vegas. They had a little convenience store in there. In one of the sections, they had a Corona like clothing section. And I'm pretty sure I bought it there for like $4 or something. But I still have it. Might wear it out.
It sounds like you overpaid for that hat.
It kept the sun off my head that day in Vegas. That's worth $4 for sure.
Okay. All right.
When I was really little, I had a pair of Corona swim trunks. And
have Corona kids swimwear. That's awesome.
Yeah. I honestly didn't know that it was a beer. There was like surfing and stuff like on the swim trunks, and then it had the Corona logo or whatever.
Yeah, it has like a surfboard for a while, I think, on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, and so I just assumed it was a surfboard company.
Nice. And then you brought some in your lunchbox to school, and they're like, "Oh, what?"
It was Wyoming. Anything went there. It was fine. It was fine.
They didn't have oceans there, so who knew?
I remember, when I was younger too, I wore a Budweiser baseball hat all the time. Like I got it for free at a car show that my dad was at, and then I was reminded of this just recently. So go back to my Bud Light Lime story. This is one of my guilty pleasures. Is when it gets hot outside, I enjoy Bud Light Lime outside, or and when Tan Limes comes out from Cross Strain, I switch over to that. Yeah. But right now, there's only Bud Light Lime. One of my son's friends, who's only 11 years old, saw me drinking it, and he said, "Oh, is that the new Bud Light Seltzer?" Like, he knew what that was, and he's 11.
Like, no, dummy, this is Bud Light Lime.
Get out of here.
Get out of here with that seltzer stuff.
I was double embarrassed. One, he thought it was seltzer. Two, he saw me drinking it.
Oh, boy.
Double embarrassed.
Oh, well.
Well, I mean, I mowed my lawn yesterday when it was nicer out. It was cloud cover, so it was nice to mow. And my 6-pack of Corona turned into a 3-pack real quick.
You're like, I got to save at least one of these for the podcast.
Yep.
So speaking of seltzer, in the next coming 4 weeks, we're going to go. It'll be May. And like last year, we did Mainstream May. So mainstream beers, and week 4 of mainstream beers will be seltzers. I
took some liberties, but it's in the ballpark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recently just purchased mine. I went with the same flavor across the board. Sadly, Corona makes a seltzer, and I bought one of those.
Oh, weird.
Is it Corona Seltzer, or is it the Corona Refrescas?
No, it was a Corona Seltzer. And so I went with the same flavor, 3 different kinds of mainstream kind of seltzers. But we're going to do 3 other mainstream beers. I am not looking forward to any of these at all. Well, okay, that's not true. Week 1, I drink a lot of what we do next week. We'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and reveal it now.
Yeah.
Yingling, for anybody.
Oh, Yingling, yeah.
West of
the Mississippi,
East of.
Well, we can't get it west.
Right.
Yeah.
East of the Mississippi. How I got some? We got some connections.
Yeah. I know that. I have some of those connections too.
There we go. Otherwise than the other 2 beers I'm not looking forward to. Brian says have an open mind. I will have an open mind.
Yep.
I guess.
For me, I've never been a fan of the green bottle. I'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to talk through it too. So
luckily what he got for us was a green can, so we don't have to drink through the can.
That was on purpose too, by the way.
Okay, good. All right, so hopefully this has worked out. Let's see how this sounds when Dolan finishes his magic editing with
He forgot to slurp.
That's true.
You better add that in somewhere, bro.
Get that in there.
Was that quiet?
I
was a little bit, but I heard it.
Which I heard sounds more like a bong hit. I assure you that Dolan is not smoking weed while we record this. This is him slurping his beer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I promise.
Not a bong hit. So
not a bong hit.
All right, fellas.
It was my first beer bong hit, though.
Oh, good tie back. Nice.
There we are. All right, boys. We're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's have another beer.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.